We're back with a round of real golf here at Megiddo Disc Golf Course at Westwood Park in Morton, Illinois. It's a pretty good course, wooded, some tight holes, some challenging par threes, but overall pretty fun course. I like that it is shaded because this was a pretty warm day, and you see most of the courses in the woods as you see back here. That's actually hole 3. And hole 1's only listed as 258, but it plays longer because it is uphill, and this is a pretty tight fairway. There's a lot of mess to get into on the right and left, so you really got to hit your line here. I'm throwing an old Champ Orc, and I like this because if I put a little bit of snap on it, it'll pop up straight. And so my goal is just to hit the gap and then have it fade a little at the end. And that right there, it turned perfectly. I was very happy with that. So the hole is up at the top there and a little to the right. And so the result was very good. Pin high, about 15 feet. A little bit of awkward footing here by that tree, but nothing too bad. Should be one I should make every time. So I kept most of the setup for my putts in. I didn't really crop that stuff out just so you can kind of see my routine and how I go about some of these short ones. And even that one, that was first hole, didn't really warm up. That was almost sneaking out the left side, but I made it. All right, hole 2, very tricky hole. Again, tight window. The hole is not a sharp left, but you really got to play a disc that goes straight for a bit and then finishes pretty hard left. There's a creek that winds through along the right here and then kind of dips around towards the basket. And that one I thought cut a little bit early. I got around that big tree, and I did end up a little short. I'm about 35 out. You'll see as I get down in here, the footing was not good at all. This course does get a little muddy. The drainage surprisingly isn't too bad, but once you get down in the creek here, it's not all that fun. And this does play as casual. So my goal here is just to try to get any kind of footing. And I kind of stepped in some stuff there. So again, getting any footing at all, I'm going to have to straddle putt this just because there's really no way to get behind it with a normal one. So if I can give this one a reasonable run, I'm pretty content from down here. So this is near the upper end of my straddle range. It's kind of hard to get a lot of power on your straddle putts. And I was able to hit that for my deuce. So that was, I'll call that a bonus from that lie because that was not an easy putt. All right, hole 3, very short. It's through the middle gap there. It's really hard to see the basket through there. If you leave it short, there is a really nasty kind of drop off about 10 feet into some really bad mud. So if you're going to miss, you got to miss long and straight. And I was able to get up on the little shelf here. And again, you don't see it, but about, I'd say less than 10 feet to the left of the basket there, it drops off into a little nasty part of the creek. It's actually kind of a continuation of the creek from the last hole. So the creek goes through a little pipe under a road that leads to a baseball field and then kind of loops back through here. So again, about 20 feet. And started 3 for 3. I was pretty happy with that. Hole 4 is one of the more challenging holes on the course. It's only listed as 405 feet, but you'll see on the second shot that this is most definitely a par 4. I don't think I've seen anybody get anywhere close to a 2 on this one. It's kind of hard to see off the tee, but so your first one is a placement shot. You want to hit the gap and have it finish left. And so I'm throwing my FELON here, and that was a pretty good shot. And I want to say it's a crapshoot. You really don't know where it's going to land. So right here, there's a landing area just short and left. There's also a landing area across that bridge. And so here, that's why it's very difficult to get a 2 on here. And I threw a CATALYS there to try to get it up the hill and just couldn't quite get it up there. It hit one of these trees and just dropped. But I would love to see someone try to get a 2. There's just really unless you're getting a crazy throw in from the bottom there, this is most definitely a true par 4. So I left myself roughly, I'd say about 50 plus, maybe a little more. It's inside circle too, but it's definitely not an easy putt. So I've got a straddle because the disc is kind of under a log there, and I've got a tree in the way, so I'm just trying to float that one up there, and I almost made it. Popped it off the front of the basket. I actually, when I let go, thought it was going to be in, but just didn't quite have enough height. 4 is not a bad score on that hole. It's basically wherever your drive lands. If you get decent footing down there on your approach shot, you can get up and down to get your 3, but wasn't able to do that there. Hole 5, again, only 300 plus, but it's tight window. If you're anywhere left, you're in jail, and there's no way you're getting up and down unless you're way down there. Right is kind of the same, so you, again, common theme here, you really got to hit the gap. So I threw my catalyst, went driver, and went pretty straight and got down there pretty well. The problem is you want it to go about 300, and then you want it to cut hard left. And so mine pretty much went straight as an arrow, and I slammed into that tree right there. Again, slightly awkward footing, but this is, I'd say, about 25, maybe a little outside that. It's inside circle 1, but it's definitely not easy. And there's a little branch there that was, or a little tree that's kind of in the way, not really. It's just enough to make me think about it. And so I just didn't concentrate as much as I need to, and I got just by that tree and chained it outright. So just a little disappointed on that one. At least I did hit metal, but I was kind of hoping to get the 4th birdie of the round, but we'll settle for par. Again, not a bad par on that one. I'm perfectly fine with that. Now, hole 6, I am not fine with anything but a birdie. So this is 198, just under 200 feet. There is a little goalie you're throwing across. And I'll sometimes throw a putter on this one, but lately I've been throwing forehand. When I say lately, I haven't played this course in a while, but I just like to throw a forehand, give it a semi-ace run, which I did. And I just missed, but it got a little hot and went long. And so as you see right here, it skipped probably about 25 feet long, maybe a touch longer. So this is another one about the same distance as the last putt. So I was a little frustrated that I didn't hit that last putt. So I kind of refocused a little bit on this. Nothing in the way, nothing to get into my head. So just pop up. Missed a little low left, but it still went in. So pretty good round so far, 4 under. This hole's gone through some changes. You can see a stump there that's about 2-3 feet tall there. There used to be a tree right there that made this hole significantly harder. They were smart and took that out. So the line here is where that one went, just a nice little turnover shot, and I clipped a tree in the fairway. I thought that was pretty good out of the hand. There also used to be a backhand line to the right, but it's kind of overgrown. I will never throw backhand on this hole. It's just doesn't suit my throwing style, and I don't think there's a line there. So this is inside circle 2, but this is a ways out, and I've got to be careful of that tree to the right. So I'm going to do kind of a little turn floater like I did on the last one, or not on the last one, on hole 4. Same result. I was a little disappointed. Again, good line, just a little low. So putts around circle 2, that 50-60 foot range, I like to put a little more hyzer on them, so having those trees in the way kind of took a little bit of my angle out. Hole 8, it's listed as a par 3, but this is out of my range. I could probably, in a wide open field, get that one down there for a putt, but 400, I think it plays a little longer. 400 plus, though, is just a little out of my range. And this one, when I let it go, I thought it was really good. It just kept turning on me. I threw a catalyst there. I've got 2 catalysts I like to throw, a white one and an orange one, both plasma. And I probably should have thrown the orange one because I was pretty happy with that throw, but it just kind of turned and burned a little bit, so left me quite a bit short here, about 150. Maybe a little closer than that. So I'm just going to try to throw a nice little easy forehand verdict up there. And it felt good coming out, but I didn't put enough on it, so I left it way short. And luckily it did hit off the side of that hill and kind of roll down a little bit, but it still left me a putt probably right around circle's edge, slightly uphill. So I was not happy with that. And yeah, I'll be really quiet if you can hear the annoying bird. Yeah, the bird was trying to troll me here on my par putt from about circle's edge. And I was able to hit that one. That's not where I wanted to be for my par putt, but we will take it. All right, hole 9. This is a sharp turn to the right, dog leg, and kind of a low ceiling. There's a lot of branches up top there that you got to avoid. You do not want to be short. And so right here, I kind of cut that in a little too tight. And I got really lucky with where it landed. So you see to the right is just a mess. The basket's over there on the left side, slightly elevated. There's a little concrete formation there. And I pretty much have nothing here. All I'm going to do is just kind of throw this one out. I'm going to throw my spike. Just an easy little turnover putter. And my goal is just get this up there close and get my par and get out of here. So just a nice little touch shot here. And there we go. Easy peasy. Still left myself about 15. Maybe a little less. But it just enough to make you think. And not going to miss that one. So I ended up with a par. So good start early on the front nine. Just kind of petered out a little bit. But a lot of these holes in the middle grouping are kind of hard to get birdies on. So like this is hole 10. And it's only around 300, but it's a tunnel shot. So you really got to hit the gap. And so this one, I'm throwing my beast. And I hit my line, but I eased off the power a little bit. So the disc kind of hyzered out a little bit. Right throw, right disc for me, just kind of left myself a little too much distance because I didn't put enough power on it. So this one's probably, I'd say 45-ish. The good part about this hole is it is wooded like everything else, but there is a little room out here to the left, so I was able to give myself a look. So yeah, I'll call this one about 45. And luckily it's wide open. So you'll see when those longer putts I discussed early in the round that were like 50 feet, you'll see kind of the hyzer that I like to do here with no trees in the way. This is kind of my preferred route. So you kind of floated up to the right and was able to hit it. So putts felt pretty good today, even though I haven't really been playing a whole lot. They were definitely feeling good. Hole 11 is nasty. Again, listed as a par 3. The only times I've gotten this for 2, I've had to putt from 40. And so it's tight gap downhill. So the distance is not the issue, but there's a lot of trouble. There's an OB creek to the left. And so I throw a forehand here, which doesn't necessarily get me down there parked, but my goal is not to get a 2 on this, it's just to get a 3. So as you see here, I clipped a tree on the right and it kind of rolled back in the fairway. And I'm just going to throw my beat-in prime verdict. And I debate from this distance. I also will sometimes throw a forehand spike. That's what you see I have in my hand there. The spike will kind of turn over a little bit, and so I was a little worried about it kind of flipping too much. So I decided to kind of ease my verdict up here. And unfortunately, I did exactly what I did on hole 8. I just didn't quite put enough power on it, and it hyzered out into the creek down there. And so now my putt, you'll see as I walk up here, basket's up on the little ledge. The footing down there is awful. So my goal here is just hope I can see the basket. I decided to leave these in here so you can see kind of the adventure and getting down to those discs. And so I could just barely see the top of the basket. And of course, I'm falling all over the place because the footing, it's muddy and nasty. So just trying to get this one up over the crest of that hill. Oh, and I actually didn't, I heard it. I didn't know it went in. I threw the second one for fun. So I actually did not know that one stuck in the basket or was that close until I watched the video. Hole 12 is another fantastic par 4. If you just look at the distances on these, this is 444, but this most definitely is not a deuceable hole. So my goal here is just to throw one about 300 up the gut. And when I let that one go, I thought it was perfect. And it was perfect all the way until you hear it hit a tree. Luckily, I got a reasonable kick, dropped in the fairway. So the basket is straight ahead up around the corner. You can kind of see a fairway to the left, and then it fades to the right, and then it does kind of have a down slope behind the basket. So very, very, very touchy shot. But you see there are so many trees on this course that you really have to play position golf. So I'm throwing my FELON here because I feel like it'll give me a little more stability. And I threw it up the gap there, and I thought it might actually go in. And it did give me a reasonable run. The problem was, I told you it sloped, and so it went way long, and it's just, there's nothing back there. Just absolutely nothing. And you'll see as I kind of position myself, I start looking to see if there are any gaps that I can look at to run, and there was absolutely nothing. So I end up just kind of tossing this up over the top. If I can actually get my footing in there. Yeah, I just end up throwing it up there, get myself a little tap in and get out. And here it comes in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and up and over. Bloop. And that's it. So just being as close as I was, there was just absolutely nothing there. So we'll, again, I like getting 3s on that. It's very gettable, but I'm not upset with a 4 on that hole. So no major hole blowups. 5 under on the round. Like this is, I'm shooting really well. No crazy 5s or 6s. So pretty happy with my round so far. Hole 13 is open for the first half, but then it does dip back into the woods, and there's a little ravine just short of the basket. So right here I'm throwing my relativity, and I like the relativity because it'll flip at first, but then it'll glide down there and has a nice harder finish at the end. And I ended up right there at the base of the hill. So putting uphill from about 20 feet, that's one of the things that's very easy to get to that ravine, but it's kind of hard to get up the ravine unless you really crank one. And I had not been practicing any uphill or downhill putts, so I'm hoping not to airmail this one. I do that sometimes, it just goes flying by to the right, so I'm just hoping to bang it in there. And I was able to do it. You can see I almost missed to the right there. So pretty good, 6 under. All right, hole 14 is, for most people, a turnover mid-range. I do not have a lot of luck with that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a forehand and just try to finish right at the hole. The basket, you'll see after this throw, that was actually a pretty good shot. The basket is kind of sitting on a hill. It's really easy because it drops off to the right. So see right there, it's really easy to get rollaways. So I was really happy. This is almost the identical putt, maybe even a little shorter that I just had on the last hole. But the footing is really awkward here. It's super muddy down there. There's another one of those creeks in there, and I kind of rushed this one. I probably should have taken my time a little bit because I did not feel comfortable with the putts. And I mean, that wasn't even close. You can tell I was kind of frustrated there. Chained off to the right. So yep, I think I just, because of the footing, I kind of rushed it and gave away what should have been another birdie, but it is what it is. Can't get them all. All right, we move into hole 15. This is another one that's, I'd say this is a par 4. You'll sometimes see this listed as a par 3. It's 500 feet, but it is a tough hole. So you're trying to hit, there's 2 big trees down there that are like field goals. You want to hit the gap. So right there I hit my gap, but then it kept turning and didn't hit a single tree, which I got a lot of distance out of it, but as you see, I'm way over here to the right. There's just so many trees in here if you are off the fairway. And at this point in time, I have no idea what I'm going to throw. There's a gap to the right, a gap to the left, but there's a tree, kind of a shorter tree that's in the way. So it's a little hard to see, but I'm going to have to throw this one about 10-15 feet high to get it over the first tree, and then just hope I make it back to the fairway and crash down. And so this is a verdict, one of my prime verdicts. I have 2 of those. I have a pink one and a blue one. The blue one has a little more stability. So there I got it through, but right here, I have no idea where that's going to land. I see the basket up there, but I really don't know until I walk up to the disc, and I realize it was a pretty damn good shot. So I left myself about 20 feet or so, maybe just outside 20. And there is a drop off behind the basket, but if I hit metal from here, which I should every time, I'm really not worried about that. But there is a huge drop off behind it. Oof, and I hit it. And I've been practicing putts, and I missed the second one there. I haven't played a lot of golf, so you'll see me putting twice on a lot of these. All right, hole 16, there's no really easy way to get the camera, so you see the disc came out there. It's just straight downhill, a little over 200 feet, and I got a nice reverse skip on that one. And I really couldn't get a much better camera angle just because there's not a lot of room behind the tee there where you can actually see down and see the basket. That one was a little right, but I got a really good reverse skip, so it left me just kind of a nice little 12-footer here to tap in for my birdie. So this is, up to this point, I think this is probably one of the best rounds I've thrown out here, which is surprising because I really haven't played a lot. And I think it's kind of the putts that have been saving me. All right, hole 17. Tight gap here. This is one of those holes where I'd really like to get rid of one tree. There's one tree in the middle that would still make this challenging. And so I'm throwing my orc here just to kind of ease it down there, and I hit the one tree. And this is where, again, camera work. This is the best I could do. You see the disc coming out there. There's really the basket is up over the crest of that hill, and it's actually sitting on a log right there. So I was quite a ways back on my drive. Just really never gave myself a birdie putt on this one. And the hole's not really that long. It's only about 270. Probably plays a touch shorter than that. And if you're wondering why I threw an orc instead of like a mid-range, is I like the stability of the orc, where I can throw it kind of 80% power and just let it finish to the left, because there is a little bit of room to the left. I was able to save par though, so that's not too bad. And that leads us into hole 18, and I'm 8 under going into this. And this hole, again, is only listed in the 350s, but this is a tough two. I can throw it 350, but you really got to hit the tight gap here. And I'll be honest, at this point in the round, I'm happy with a par. And so I threw another great one with my CATALYS, and I thought it was going to sneak through, and it hit one last tree there on the gap. Otherwise, I may have had a long putt at it. So here, my throw is from there. So I'm throwing up over that little hill, and then the basket is tucked up in there to the left. So there's going to be a slight delay here, and then you'll see the disc coming out on the right here. There it is. And I left it a little left, but it hit a tree, and there was a reasonable line there. It wasn't really that bad. I'll kind of carry the camera over here so you can see where I was throwing from. So I was throwing through that gap to the right. So I had to throw it to the right through there, and then had to hook around, which seems like a tricky shot, but I was able to execute it. I'm pretty comfortable doing that with my verdict. And I hit a tree up to the left and kind of skipped down, so it left me a pretty easy putt for par. And I was able to finish with an 8 under. So that was... in most tournaments, I'm pretty sure that's a 1,000 rated round. I was throwing reasonably well off the tee. My putts were I was hitting the putts. So very happy with that. Couple long ones, especially the putt on number 2. The par save on 8 was a big one. The birdie putt on number 10 was a big one. The uphill putt on 11 to save par there was pretty nice too. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed a little real-life golf from Megiddo Disc Golf Course in Morton, Illinois, and I will be back hopefully this summer with a few rounds to kind of showcase some of the local courses around the Peoria area.